I can see a campfire in our backyard. An old Aboriginal woman, Munkamaru, was hunched by the fire. Her black clothing, her black skin make her almost invisible. She's the widow of Kumanjay Morris, a good man who won an award and died of heart failure. She hasn't spoken about her deceased husband. She will not mention his name. There's a clutch of Polaroid photos in her plastic handbag, and in the mornings, sometimes, she takes them out, gazing ponderously into the images of her husband. She fondles them, slips them back in her bag. But now, tonight, the cooking has hold of her attention. Lamb chops, tomato sauce, hot tea, comfort in a life that has no foreseeable development, no progress, no economic vitality. Here am I, trying to put down in writing what's on my mind. Dr. Tom Singer in America said, "I want you to write a chapter in the book on the cultural complex. I want you to write an analysis of the psychological state of the place where you live." What do you mean, Tom? He said, "You see patients repeat the same idea, the same behaviour, the same suffering. The suffering is endless. You see cultural groups, nation states, repeat the same ideas, same suffering. Sure, Tom, I see you in America never learn from your mistakes, never wake. Your land is condemned all the way from New Orleans to Jerusalem." He said, "Never mind America. You look to your own backyard. Write me on the cultural complex of Alice Springs." I don't know, Tom. I'm too much inside the story. I don't know how to think about these things. All of us here are in the dark about our own cultural situation. But this weekend in Alice Springs I sat down to think, and it became as though shades came to visit with a purpose. And there are others around the fire now. There are 6 or 7 bush people down from Warlpiri country for the football. Beth is an Aboriginal health worker. She talks to her mother about computers and blood pressure and the health hazards of fried chicken. And then Celine walks in through the gate with 2 young men. One is a petrol sniffer. A petrol sniffer who played with a can of petrol over a campfire. It blew up in his face. He was too intoxicated to foresee the consequences. And now he's been skin grafted, trachetomized, amputated, and restored. I have a list of boys like this. Looking after them is my work. Celine found him tonight in another camp being tormented by drunks, and with uncharacteristic consideration she brought him here to be looked after. And that's her mother and sister over by the fire. Celine wants her mother to see this display of care. She won't stay herself because I banned her as a habitual drunk. But she seems sober enough this evening, and her care for this boy seems authentic enough. But I try to stay at my table. The doors opened out onto the scene. I am trying to develop a theme for this essay for Tom, but I feel interrupted by these incidental Bacchic visitations. And then suddenly I realise that I don't have to think anymore about the problem that Tom troubles me with. I just have to sit here and describe what is happening around the fire and in my mind's eye. Therefore I set myself a boundary. I will write no more than is possible to describe in this one weekend in Alice Springs. I will set down what the place makes me think. And there will be a lot happening as people from the bush converge on town, and stories will unfold. It's well enough known that the lines of Altura, the song lines, are still running beneath the streets of the town. It's well enough known that there's an intricate network of sites woven into the fabric of the country. Principal dreaming for the site of Alice Springs concerns a wild dog. He comes in from the south through a gap in the mountain range. He attacks the incumbent male. He ravages the mother and puppies. The modern town of Alice Springs is built on a mythic event. A rape, a dog fight. Sites do things to people. Back at the hospital, I hear news that outside of town on the South Highway, a man is sitting in an old Ford Cortina. The body of a dog, dead, is wrapped in the blanket on the back seat. The dog has been in the car for 3 days. The police officer says that the man is one sandwich short of a picnic. He needs a psych assessment. He won't give up the dog. It's a job for a shrink. We approach things slowly. Let things unroll. After a while the story unfolds, and he cautiously confides the list of troubles encountered on the 1,700-kilometre route up from the south. He's been molested, beaten, locked up. Someone sabotaged his vehicle at a truck stop. He whispers in passing that he is the exiled king of Iraq. I listen to him, unravelling. The animal who is almost human and is quietly dead on the back seat begins to illumine us all with a sense of grief. I lose track of time, or time stands still. And I remember Sumeria, King Gilgamesh, and his part animal companion Enkidu, trekking up the Tigris Euphrates Valley and across the Lebanon for cedar wood by way of Assyria. And the death of Enkidu and the grief of Gilgamesh, and Gilgamesh searching for eternal life. This man in the Ford Cortina is caught in a grief. His kingdom lost, his dog, his country. And in the heat, my attention drifts back to the matter of the cultural complex. And I'm thinking that certain culturally defined events in the past also take place in the present. A psychological inheritance. In Iraq and Assyria, the old story repeats. In Australia, dogs come in through the gates, puppies die, men and women lose their country, men and women find a country. Grief and a beginning again, and some break down. The man in the Cortina, has he perhaps been seized by this collective disorder? The Cortina glimmers in the shade of the eucalyptus. Gilgamesh has no money. He could be sitting here for weeks, the dog on the back seat. The practical thing would be to persuade a mechanic to set the king on his way. Sometimes psychological work is just a bit of engineering. On the south side of town, a dog trots along the bitumen strip. He trots through a gap in the mountain range. A fight is brewing. It will always be brewing. This dog will outlive the generations of humans. It's Monday night. The long weekend is over. The lizards have been eaten, the walpy have all left, the ashes are cold, there's no food in the house. We believe we are individuals, but we have already been swallowed by stomachs bigger than ourselves. Perhaps those stomachs are the cultural complexes, repetitive, relentless,